And then we have our next presenter, Dr. Gabriele Carmelo Rosato. So Gabriele is a postdoctoral research fellow at Pontifical Gregorian University. His research is grounded in cultural anthropology, uses qualitative interviews and visual ethnography to unravel how CSA impacts survivors' perceptions of safety within their personal spaces, particularly homes, which should be sanctuaries of safety, yet may become complex sites of memory and trauma. Gabriele is involved not only as a researcher, but also as an activist in this topic. He is a survivor and a member of an Italian organization supporting adults with a related experience, where he is a natural facilitator in mutual aid groups.
Thank you. So good morning, everybody. My name is Gabriele. I'm a cultural anthropologist at the Institute of Anthropology of the Gregorian University. And well, thanks for welcoming my participation here. It's a truly honor to be here in person, especially because it's the first occasion I can talk about the early findings of my research. As you can see on the title, is more or less focused on the perception and representation of spaces such as the home for people who reported stories of abuse during their childhood. And as a consequence of these, I am also researching how language is used to achieve different purposes in language in relation to obsessive-compulsive disorders, and how survivors then deal with language when living also with OCD. Well, actually, whatever the stage, my presentation, my speech, my work will be lacking or inaccurate if I don't talk about this for word. Actually, I'm not only involved as a researcher, but also as an activist in the sector, in the field, being a survivor myself and living with OCD. And actually, I'm presenting the words of Donna Kerr, who is emeritus professor at the University of Washington, which said, "I will say some things of personal nature, and I will feel, for this reason, exposed, vulnerable. These would be utterly silly things to do if my purposes were purely academic." And actually, that's what I think, what I believe. And the statement seems important to me because it informs researchers that are also involved in the topic, that taking a stand through their investigation can expose them to unknown risks. But I'm in here since I know that this is a safe place. So, and at the end of the day, my work actually is to be concerned to what makes a place culturally safe. Now, from a methodological point of view, my research, then grounded in cultural anthropology, utilizes qualitative interviews, on-site observations, and visual ethnography over 1 year, and actually it's near completion. My current fieldwork involves a group of 30 people ranging from 18 to 55, and who are survivors of childhood abuse and diagnosed with OCD. So while exploring the multifaceted effects of what we call CSA on survivor spaces, participants also emphasized the critical role of language in shaping their understanding of and interaction with spaces. Now, I'm currently analyzing the convergence of linguistic expression in survivors and their language patterns when manifesting OCD. And for these, I am focusing on how these people use verbal and non-verbal communication to navigate their homes specifically. And today I'm reporting some preliminary findings. Well, you know that shame is a common behavior, emotion experienced by individuals with OCD. I do. However, our, disclosure during the one-to-one interviews were eased by the fact that they and I share the two critical aspects of the research. In addition, since performing rituals is often an intimate and secret task, I encourage them to keep a record of their experience of OCD at home through taking pictures, photos, sketches. You will see a couple of them later. And so by using this practice of self-narrative, they gain confidence in knowing more about the rituals and found the words or the images, when it's not possible to translate, to describe them. And ultimately, these will tell us whether, over time, practicing autoethnography and regularly can have some positive effects on the healing journey. Now, focusing on the connection between trauma memories, compulsions, and the spatial experience, I'm gaining some insight. Actually, the recorded narratives highlight how specific spatial arrangements, sensory connections, elements, and privacy aspects can trigger memories of trauma or, conversely, contribute to enhance a sense of security and healing. So let's focus on the role of language in the spatial experiences of survivors with OCD. These includes how language helped them to express, process, and cope with trauma within their homes. What I'm noticing is that language serves as a powerful tool to articulate and manage their spatial experiences. So please look, for example, this picture. The participant who drew this sketch uses the word divano, which stands for couch in English, and she does it compulsively. She's reluctant to sit on couches, and when forced by circumstances, she acts out rituals. And this is the visual representation of what she feels, in spite of language as words. Participants also often describe and define their environments in unique ways. So here is an analysis of the role of language in spatial experience as observed. For example, they use specific language to carve out what they consider safe spaces. See terms like my sanctuary, safe haven, my bubble, and which are not just words, but vivid indicators of the emotional and psychological protection these spaces provide. Conversely, the language used to describe triggering or dangerous spaces is equally telling. See words like suffocating, dark, or claustrophobic, which reveal the negative emotions these areas provide. And as I was telling, all of this is translations from Italian. Here are some practical examples of how these rituals occur. They may repeat a sequence of words while speaking. For example, they can recite the same line while reading, or have an intolerance towards upside-down texts like food labels in the fridge or book titles on the shelf. Moreover, survivors also use language to explain the purpose behind compulsion. Phrases like, I thought I could have died if I hadn't made those gestures over and over again. Or I feel stuck in these rituals. I had no choice. All of these link rituals to their extreme need for safety. And so these actions are crucial for surviving, in a way, despite being demanding, and most of you maybe already know. Again, some people told me that intrusive thoughts lead them to utter something loudly, to break that thought. That's what they said. And when this happens in the presence of somebody, they consequently feel ashamed. And well, you can imagine that such a thing leads to unexpected reactions from other people. Other participants resort to what we call minced oaths, formed by mispronouncing a part of a type of word. For example, one says she often repeats a cat's name, Chaffou, from the French Chaffou, French crazy cat, and she constantly repeats this within sentences, and most of the people can understand, of course. In addition, I commonly noted the ritual use of language as a means of coping with stress during intimacy. For example, one said that her partner uses jargon about sexuality fluently, but she dislikes. And she said that those words, naming this, makes sex very challenging. And the interviewee mentioned that she has discussed these feelings with her partner, but prefers to do it, to communicate it in writing, to have control over language. Lastly, a few of them rightfully say, no, words don't help me. And ironically, one of them is a writer. Now, participants also showed that language serves as a tool to express their emotional connections to different spaces. See phrases like, I feel trapped in that room, or this place calmed me down. Moreover, metaphors and symbolic language are also prevalent, so describing a safe room as a fortress or an unsafe one as a prison. All of these convey deeper emotional meanings and psychological states. Then such symbolic language allows survivors to externalize and manage their emotions through verbal expressions. But look also at this picture. At times, participants express themselves in a roundabout way, using phrases that reveal the need for a new vocabulary to describe certain conditions in spite of translation. For instance, some refer to their home as their non-home, a term used often by those who are still living in the same dwelling where the trauma occurred several years earlier. And this term expressed the limit of their language and the need for a word that is the opposite of the home as a haven. I also observed the conscious use of language as a coping mechanism among people who claim to be spiritual. Some, for example, perform compulsive prayer, and this gives particular satisfaction because if others notice it, it's socially accepted and there is no need to disguise it. And finally, excessive apologizing to deity or seeking forgiveness for behavior is widely seen. And this was also found in people who are not automatically believers. Also, it is not unusual to recognize that people apologize to inanimate objects when unintentionally hit. Language also plays a crucial role in mapping out safe and unsafe spaces. Actually, for this purpose, I encouraged them to create what we call verbal maps of the environments, detailing which areas are associated with safety or danger and explaining why. I noticed that visual narratives help them to externalize and process their trauma in a way that complements their verbal expressions. Most importantly, several of the respondents stated that they had reduced their incidence of OCD at home once they had mapped out the areas of the house where the reliance on OCD were typically more frequent. My preferred part. The ongoing ethnography is bringing evidence about the fact that setting particularly influence the use of rituals. For example, bathroom and bedroom are such topical areas within the house for almost all participants. Unfortunately, I have no time to delve into specific cases, but here are some examples or descriptions stemming from ethnography, and there is plenty of them. In the context of bathroom, language reflects themes of control and hygiene, fear and avoidance, ritual and repetition. So survivors may perceive the bathroom as a space where they exert control over the environment to manage anxiety, or conversely, as a trigger environment to avoid traumatic experiences. And similarly, bedrooms are described in terms of sanctuaries where survivors feel safe, or for others, bedrooms are distressing, filled with bad memories, and making it difficult to find even peace. And the need for order is also prominent, with survivors meticulously organizing their spaces to manage the chaos associated to trauma. And finally, objects, which carry significant symbolic meaning. For instance, night lights or stuffed animals are described as providing comforting and security, like the phrase, "My blankets are my safe tent at night." Moreover, the avoidance of certain objects like mirrors helps prevent triggering traumatic memories. What I already showed are examples that underscore the significant role language plays in how these survivors with OCD articulate their relationship with environments. And here is a summary of the impact of rituals on language as observed during ethnography. Firstly, survivors often develop phrases or words that help them manage their feelings of safety or anxiety. And these linguistic cues can give us valuable insights into coping mechanisms they develop. Moreover, discussing trauma can often trigger OCD symptoms. Then language becomes a tool for navigating these difficult speech conversations, even with their partner, and finding healing amidst the pain. And finally, language extends to nonverbal communication. And so visual representation, as I was commenting, as you were seeing, all of these representation can play a decisive role in coping with communicating and accept their experience. Now, my research is ongoing, so presenting today the early findings is already a privilege. However, there is more, because it grants, to do that, this venue, grants dignity to people afraid of being wrong, when dealing with these rituals. And I have emphasized that although the information shown doesn't meet solid and sound statistical thresholds, such insights sharpen future extensive empirical research based on a broader knowledge of behaviors, indicators, factors to be observed. And ultimately, my assumption is then the environmental and sensory condition impact OCD, therefore providing patterns with, to provide participant patients to with the skills to map their spaces can be part of the more conscious and oriented healing process. And finally, to learn more and stay in touch, I usually try to spread the word about these, also being an activist, and I launched a podcast about this, even if it is in Italian, but it's a way to strive to make spaces safer and more supportive for everyone. So thank you so much for your attention throughout the presentation.